I'm John Ristaino, better known to the Southern New Hampshire University community as JR. I am an alumnus from the class of 1982. Currently, I am the Vice President of Financial Development at the Granite YMCA here in Manchester, New Hampshire, and also serve on the Southern New Hampshire University Alumni Board. I can proudly state that I had a wonderful experience when I was at New Hampshire College, and I met people who formed my thinking back then and continue to do it to this day, both personally and professionally. This video was a really interesting trip down memory lane for me, not only in terms of my being a student, but also being a gay student who was not out throughout my entire college experience. And really reflecting that and thinking about it, there were no out students on campus during that period of time. It wasn't until 1984 that I heard of a couple of students stepping forward and identifying themselves as being gay. And that was the first time that I'd ever heard of anyone on campus identifying themselves in such a way. And not really having come out myself at that point in time in my life, with great pride, that I was so proud of them because I was appreciative of the fact is how scared they must have been to do that and what truly brave actions those were in 1984. I think the most important thing an LGBT student, whether they're out or whether they're closeted during this period of time, is first and foremost, stay safe. We are living through a very scary period of time with this COVID-19 virus. When I was just a little older than what today's students are more likely to are right now, age-wise, we were dealing with another deadly virus, the HIV, the AIDS virus. So it is reminiscent of the fact that in this period of time of isolation, one really must first think of themselves and protecting their own health. The second is seek out, even online, support for who you are and what you want to become. It is difficult to be living in situations where people don't accept you, they don't embrace you, and they don't love you for who you are. Perhaps they only love you for who they want you to be or who they think that you are. I did a very good job at hiding my sexual orientation out of fear of being discriminated against. When I was shortly after the time I left New Hampshire College, the AIDS epidemic hit, and gay men were seen through that prism by employers, by family, by friends, by members of the community. So I, along with many other gay men, had developed a tremendous skill set to hide who we are and who our friends were and what we did on the weekend and who we spent time with. The discrimination wasn't necessarily blatant, but it was one of those aspects of professional life that you understood and you protected yourself. It wasn't until 2003 when I sort of had gone through a career change as the financial services industry had redeveloped or redefined itself, that I put on my resume that I was, a member of the employee resource group for gay, lesbian employees. And I remember a career counselor explaining that was not necessarily going to sit well with certain employers that I was looking to work for. And I think the lesson for me was that as much progress as I've made coming out of the closet, there are still times where I hide who I am out of that old fear that people will judge me and that people will hold it against me, that I am who I am. I was so proud to be an alumnus when President Paul LeBlanc sent out a message with regards to the societal events around the death of George Floyd and the increased awareness of our country's systemic racism. And what struck me was Paul's willingness to take a look inwardly at the university, its policies, its teachings. We can do better, we can build a better society, has really been present at Southern New Hampshire University for the LGBTQ community. Diversity is a continuum. We must always educate ourselves. Not many people do this, might realize this, but the school motto is Summa Optimique. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly because I never took Latin. But the English translation is the greatest and the best. And as I think about that and what it really means to be an alum of Southern New Hampshire University and what the motto, the greatest and the best, really means and can be applied to is, one, it was the greatest education. And it was the best experience that I had, that I could have asked for educationally. But the greatest and the best also applies to how the university just keeps changing and keeps growing, and more importantly, keeps leading. The way leadership at Southern New Hampshire University continues to look at, evaluate, frame, and reframe what higher education is all about, it's inspirational. It makes me proud to be a Penman. It makes me proud to be an alumnus of a university that truly is the greatest and the best.